Hey guys, Mr. B here. Here's your study guide review for tonight. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. Pause the video on each question as you need it. Number one, we are taking things that have exponents and writing them in expanded form. Number two, we changed the directions here. We're taking those expanded form expressions and writing them with an exponent. I changed the directions for 3 through 7 right here. Instead of I can generate equivalent expressions using order of operations, I can solve using order of operations. So for number 3 through 7, that's what we did. Here's 3. Follow PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply or divide, whichever comes first, left to right, and then add or subtract, whichever comes first, left to right. Sorry about that. Same thing here, follow PEMDAS. Same thing here, follow PEMDAS. Do one step at a time. If you follow each one of these as I go down, you can see I'm only doing one step at a time to get to my final answer. There's 6 also. I don't want to use those directions. I just want you to solve using the order of operations one step at a time. Same thing with number 7. Solve using one step at a time. Now again, with these type, you have to go out of order a little bit. This is subtraction, and of course the fraction is just division. But you can't divide by 8 until you have one number up here in the numerator. So you do have to kind of break the rules of the order of operations and go ahead and do that subtraction so that you can divide. So that one's going to be like that. And so is number 3. Okay? All right. This is more for parents than it is for students. But parents, you've got to know the order of operations is like this. Parentheses, exponents, multiply or divide, and then add or subtract. Okay? You do not have to multiply before you divide. You only do whatever comes first as you move left to right across a situation. So as I move left to right, if I were to encounter division, I don't have division here or here, but if I were to, it's okay to divide before you multiply. That's often taught wrong. Most people think because the M comes first that you have to multiply first. You do if it comes first as you're moving left to right, but not if division comes first. So the kids have been taught this. We've talked about it a lot, and they need to watch out for that. So there's all of the front page. You can pause it again on the video to see my work on each one. Up here, we're using prime factorization. This is going to be a little iffy because in my first block, I did not tell you to change this number. So if you're in my first period, you did 152 and you did 196. From second period on, we changed this to 108 and to 86, and then we left this one as 72. And so we factored these with factor trees, and then we wrote an expanded form, which was all of our prime numbers expanded, and then we wrote it as an exponent. 43 is a prime number, which most of us are not going to have that memorized. So just now you know, if you're looking at this video tonight, you know there is no exponent form because it's just 2 times 43. And this one here, I got going too fast and I circled number 4, but 4 is not prime. So you see, I wrote that it's not prime. I got going in a hurry. 4 is not a prime number. I need to break that down further into 2 times 2. So there's my prime factorization there. 11 and 12 are about which properties are being used. I think for 11, really, I could see where a student could make a case for it being the associative property if they grouped these two together, but I could also see a case for a student to also say it's the commutative property because the order doesn't matter the way that you do that. So I'll accept either one of those for number 11. Number 12, though, really, I think is associative more than commutative because it's talking about how this Mr. Brack teacher is helping her by grouping these two together. And when you group something, you associate it. So you're associating two friendly numbers here in 20 times 5 first. So I think that's more of associative. Here's the properties. We have lots of work in our journal that's exactly like this, but commutative property says we can move things around in any order. The additive identity property says anything plus 0 is itself. Multiplicative identity property, anything times 1 is itself. Commutative property, again, even with multiplication, we can switch things around in any order. Zero product property, anything times 0 is 0. Additive inverse means you've got to add the opposite. So the opposite of 9 is -9. That's the only way to get 0. And the multiplicative inverse, that C has got to be the reciprocal of 3/4 in order to get 1. So C would have to be 4/3 here. I think I said 3/4 a minute ago, sorry. C has to be 4/3 in order for this to equal 1, just like B has to be -9 in order for this to equal 0. All right, up here, I can generate equivalent expressions using properties. You have tons of options for this. For this one, you can use the distributive property here, 8 times 4x plus 8 times 9 by distributing that 8 times everything in the parentheses. And then, of course, if you finish the distributive property, you have a final answer of 32x plus 72. You could also simply just move the two things being added around inside the parentheses, and that would be the commutative property. So on 14 and then on 15 and then on 16, you could have used the distributive property or the commutative property to generate some type of equivalent expression. And it didn't tell you exactly which property to use, so any of them would have worked. On 17, you cannot do that because 15 is separated from this 9 times x with subtraction as the operation. It's not like that in these others up here. So there's only one choice you have for this, and you can move the two numbers being multiplied around. That's the commutative property there, but you've got to leave everything else alone. 18, you could use the commutative property. Put those in any order you want to. 19, you can use the associative property to associate, sorry, that would be down here. The bottom one would be the associative property to associate with a new group. This one up here would be the commutative property where you moved that entire group to the right and the 11 to the left. So a couple choices there. This is the difference between expressions and equations, but we're writing an equation based on these sentences. So 6 times a number is x because we don't know what the number is. And then it says less 9, so 6x minus 9. 8 times the quotient. Quotient means you're going to be dividing, and you're taking 6 and 3 and dividing them. So 6 divided by 3, so 8 times 6 divided by 3. The difference between a number, x, a number, we don't know what it is, so we use a variable, and 12, so difference means subtract, so x minus 12. And then 5 times a number is 30. We finally have the word is, so that tells us we need an equal sign. 5 times x equals 30, 5x equals 30. All right, down here, expression or equation, no equal sign, expression. Is means equals, equation. Is means equals, equation. No is, no same as, no nothing in there telling you that it's an equation, so this is an expression. 2 students, which ones wrote expressions? Student 1 and student 2, because they don't have equal signs. These two are equations. These two on the outside are expressions. All right. I can write expressions. Here again, read the sentence, write it. The product, that means we're multiplying, of a number, x, and 18. So you might be thinking x times 18, which is right. A better way to write that is with the number in front of the letter. This is a more proper way of writing it. 24, the price, whatever it is, x, is decreased by $9, x minus 9. 25, $12 times the number of hours, so 12 times h, 12h. 26, the sum of c squared and 14, so sum add c squared, and 14 plus 14. 2 times the number decreased by 11, 2 times some number, we don't know what it is, so we just call it n. 2 times the number decreased by 11 minus 11. And 5 times means we're multiplying. 5 times the number, 5n, divided by 4. Okay, so you can also write that as a fraction. All right. Last spot here, look at the model. Choose a variable. I just did S and B for shoes and baseballs. 5 shoes. There's also 6 baseballs, so plus 6 baseballs. Verbal description of that, Mr. B has 5 shoes and 6 baseballs. And down here with an actual model, you have 2 x's, just like you had 5 shoes, 5s, 2 x's, 2x. You have 4 positives, so plus 4. You have 6 negatives over here, so minus 6. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So this becomes 2x minus 2 after you take care of the 4 minus 6. Now, you can also think of this as 0 pairs. All right, so a positive and a negative are going to make a 0 pair. Another positive and another negative are going to make another 0 pair. Another positive and another negative make a 0 pair, and another positive and another negative. So here's those 2 leftover negatives, which is why this looks like minus 2 or negative 2. Okay. All right. 10 points extra on your test if you bring in a completed study guide tomorrow. Good luck as you look over this tonight, and we'll see you in class.